Good morning, Dan and Amy. And I, for one, need Joe Biden's riff on China policy translated. This is what he offered with Gloria Vanderbilt's kid at his town hall last week. Joe Biden on China.
It has always been the time when China has been victimized by the outer world is when they haven't been unified at home. So the central, vastly overstated, the central principle of Xi Jinping is that there must be a united, tightly controlled China. And he uses his rationale for the things he does based on that. I point out to him, no American president can be sustained as a president if he doesn't reflect the values of the United States. And so the idea, I'm not going to speak out against what he's doing in Hong Kong, what he's doing with the Uyghurs in western mountains of China, and Taiwan trying to end the one China policy by making it forceful. I said, and by the he said he gets it. Culturally, there are different norms that each country and their leaders are expected to follow. But my point was that when I came back from meeting with him and traveling 17,000 miles with him when I was vice president, he was the vice president. That's how I got to know him so well, at the request of President Hu, not a joke, his predecessor, President Hu, and President Obama wanted us to get to know one another because he was going to be the president. And I came back and said they're going to end their one-child policy because they're so xenophobic they won't let anybody else in, and more people are retired than working. How can they sustain economic growth when more people are retired?
What a hot mess. Oh, my God.
So I appreciate that President Biden resisted the temptation to do an Abbott and Costello routine in referencing previous President Hu. I mean,
what's on second?
It's not a joke. Was anybody taking it as a joke? But it seems to me his position is, we both have to do our performance art. I recite the standard talking points from the American perspective, and you recite the standard points from the Chinese Communist perspective. And you go about your business and we go about ours. That's been the approach pre-Trump to China for the better part of 5 decades. Well, that approach hasn't worked other than to aggrandize China, and I'm very interested to hear how concerned Joe Biden is about President Xi maintaining at least facade of unity in China as its dictator. I mean, it's just a bizarre, rambling, to me, nonsensical word dump in lieu of an actual particular policy with respect to Chinese expansionism, which he recognized in his remarks. He recognized China is expansionist. It wants to be the unitary global power, but he doesn't seem to have any particular idea what to do about that. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Lieutenant Colonel Jim Carafano for our weekly conversation. He is the VP of the Catherine and Shelby Cullum Davis Institute for International Studies at the Heritage Foundation, author of books including Wiki at War and Private Sector Public Wars. Jim, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, good to be with you.
So your translation of what President Biden had to say about China, for starters.
Well, it reminded me of actually Donald Trump's first press conference on Russia. But I love the words hot mess because that was exactly what everybody took away from that. Is you're supposed to explaining to us what you're doing, and it's completely unclear. And what we found is after Trump's incredibly disastrous press conference, his Russia policy was actually incredibly strong, and a lot of the stability in Western Europe the last 4 years is attributable to that. I don't know if you can make what you can't, what his policy is on this. A friend of mine described it as we're getting the dance of the seven veils. What it sounds like, trying to just parse everything and read the tea leaves, is they want to follow the playbook under Obama, which was we need to look for areas to cooperate, and if we have to challenge them, we will. Well, the problem with that policy, if that is indeed the policy we're going back to, is on every area of crucial interest to the U.S., China's on the opposite side. So you're going to cooperate on what? Things that are meaningless? And And if you're going to challenge China, if you don't overtly challenge them, they and the rest of the world, by the way, actually see that as acquiescing to China. That's how we got where we were in the South China Sea. So they're a bit kind of all over the place. They ran some thought ups these freedom of navigation operations in the South China Sea, which is great. They didn't say much about it, which is bad. They've made reassurances on Taiwan and complaints about Taiwan, which is great. They didn't promote that, which is bad. They've actually put out statements on Hong Kong. They put out statements on the Uyghur, but they put out statements on Burma. But they still haven't responded to Burma yet, and the coup by the generals, and Burma is a client state of China. We've designated the Uyghur activities by China as a genocide. That's an official U.S. policy. The President of the United States said he's not going to talk about genocide, which is shocking, and this government still hasn't done anything about the genocide designation. So all I can reflect on is for a guy who ran for president and was just bemoaning the fact that Trump was coddling dictators, which he wasn't, that speech to the American people, that conversation to the American people, kind of sounded like he was coddling dictators, and it was an American. It wasn't a meeting at the United Nations. It wasn't a meeting with the State Department. It was a town hall with the American people, telling them what you're doing with the greatest foreign policy challenge of this generation, and you gave them kind of oatmeal.
Yeah, he muddled the message. But is the goal to be friends with China or to dominate them?
Well, this is the problem. This notion of we need to figure out a way to have a balanced relationship with China, that's nonsense. We tried that for decades, and it utterly failed. We have to triage China, which means that we have to prioritize protecting our interests from China. And we didn't get a sense of that in the speech, and that's unfortunate.
So here's the thing. A podcaster that I listen to sometimes reminded me of these facts, which is really helpful because so much of this, the media has no institutional memory. Most of the political class doesn't either. I know you do. And so the question is, where is China trying to exploit the United States right now? He reminded me, in 2010, the Department of Defense found thousands of its computer servers sending military network data to China, the result of code hidden in chips that handle the machine's startup process. That's in 2010. In 2014, Intel discovered that an elite Chinese hacking group breached its network through a single server that downloaded malware from a supplier's update site. And in 2015, the FBI warned multiple companies that Chinese operatives had concealed an extra chip loaded with backdoor code in one manufacturer's servers. And so, we talk about things like intellectual piracy in present day. Well, we're focused on intellectual piracy when that has been going on for eons now, perhaps because we haven't sufficiently addressed it. I understand that. But it also precludes some of us, I think, from thinking in real time and prospectively of what China's next gambit with respect to compromising America is. And one suggestion, as they're trying to fashion themselves a white knight around the developing world by distributing their version of the COVID vaccine, is that it would be something with respect to vaccine distribution or vaccine coding, even with respect to some of the big pharma vaccine producers, and that could be compromised in some material way. Biological warfare. What do you have to say about sort of that whole 10-year perspective bringing us to present?
Well, look, all you have to do is actually read what the Chinese said. And for many years, they've said that they plan on we talked about nuclear weapons being the ultimate instrument. They plan on being the world's information superpower and sucking up all the world's information, and then through the combination of artificial intelligence and quantum computing, essentially being to manipulate that information to do everything they want, which is you use your imagination and the range of activities. And the Chinese are not close to any of that, and there's nothing ethically or morally or legally that prevents them from exploiting that information in any way possible. That 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when we read that stuff, that was an aspiration. Today, these are operational capabilities that we're putting in place, and which gets, I think, back to the point of the whole conversation is China is a present danger, and what we're not hearing from the President of the United States is how China is a present danger. And I get that it's a new team, they're on board, they're focusing on domestic policy and everything else. But by leaving the impression of we don't have a plan for China, that just makes the entire world nervous, and it helps the Chinese out a lot. So the president famously just gave a speech at the Munich Security Conference, and he said, "I want to work with Europe on China." You know what Europe said? No, thanks.
Yeah, well,
I would be hitting the panic button at this point.
It's something. So another enemy of the United States that perhaps is making the rest of the world nervous in terms of the Biden approach, Iran. And the Biden administration says it wants to return to the 2015 nuclear deal and then negotiate a follow-on agreement. One problem, a la Europe with respect to China. Iran doesn't want to. Iran just wants to go to the 2015 deal and, get their $5 billion in IMF loans unfrozen.
And again, the administration is kind of leading with concessions. Lifting the terrorist designation on the Houthis and cutting off aid to Saudi Arabia, that's giving a sweetener to Iran. But this is the problem. I think this is the administration's tendency, which is to follow the kind of Obama playbook, which is this: let's lead by showing our friendly face to these adversaries. Under Obama, people interpreted that as weakness, and they took advantage of us. And essentially, you're going back to a failed playbook. I mean, that's what we see so far. Even Russia, where the administration came into office, and the first thing they did was castigate Trump about the failure to respond to solar winds, and we're still putting the package together of how we're going to respond on solar winds. I mean, this would be like Pearl Harbor having on December 8th, and in February the President of the United States says, we're still putting a process together. So they've got all these processes ongoing and everything, and they're doing all this backdoor brilliant diplomacy, but it just sounds. It's just terribly out of tune for the world in which we are. I mean, you hate Trump, fine, hate the orange hair, hate the tweeting, and everything else. He led with a sledgehammer, but that got China's attention, Iran's attention, North Korea's attention, Russia's attention. I mean, the Biden team so far is kind of flicking, their fingers at guys who are throwing sledgehammers. And maybe they're brilliant, and we just don't give them all enough credit for their brilliance. But but they didn't work before, and I haven't seen any early signs that it's going to work now.
He is Lieutenant Colonel Jim Carafano, Vice President of the Catherine and Shelby Cullum Davis Institute for International Studies at the Heritage Foundation. Jim, thanks as always.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Ryan Siebert, CEO of SG Homebuilders and a customer of Signature Bank. Over the last 10 years, my business pivoted multiple times to adjust to the fluctuations in the Chicago real estate market. Signature Bank's partnership with us and their ability to adapt to changes has allowed us to become a leading custom home builder. Signature Bank is a relationship-based business bank right here in Chicago, providing services and advice that address our unique situation, and they serve as a trusted consultant on what works best for my business. Signature Bank helped us build SG Home Builders while we were busy building dream homes for our clients.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey, if you'd like to have more light in your basement or make it a safer place to be, Permaseal Basement Systems can install an egress window and make that happen. In just one day, they can convert that dark, creepy area in your basement into a bright, usable part of your home and make it compliant with today's building codes. Permaseal can convert existing small windows into large emergency exits, or they can install a brand new picture window into a solid wall. All installations come with a drain and a burglar-resistant cover. For 42 years, folks, Permaseal has been helping Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana homeowners make their homes healthier and more valuable. They've earned an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau and have a 4.9-star Google rating. For a free, no-obligation estimate on your egress window by one of their certified professionals, call Permaseal, 800-421-SEAL. That's 800 421-7325 or visit permaseal.net.
Imagine doing one thing that could give you an entirely different perspective about your place in the world. I assume you would feel it was worth it. Dennis Prager here, inviting you to join me for a 10-day Stand With Israel tour through the land of Israel, October 2021. Come with me to get first-hand insight into Israel's fascinating past and promising future. I'll introduce you to the geopolitical, economic, and spiritual dynamics of a truly remarkable nation. Walk the ancient temple steps, sail on the Sea of Galilee, and so many more unforgettable moments. Return home inspired, renewed, and empowered. If you've ever dreamed of seeing Israel, this is your opportunity. With expert guides and important lectures at key sites, we'll be together in the comfort and safety of luxurious accommodations the whole time. Join me for a life-changing adventure to give you a renewed sense of purpose. To come with me to Israel in 2021, call 855-565-5519. That's 855-565-5519. Or book online at standwithisraeltour.com. Standwithisraeltour.com.
As our area begins to open back up, will you fit back into your regular clothes? You can still lose that COVID weight before spring, since it only takes 40 days to lose a contractually guaranteed 20 to 40 plus pounds with NJ Diet. NJ Diet first uses your hair and saliva samples, along with their bioenergetic scans, to personalize natural solutions and supplements, where the side effect is weight loss. Then NJ Diet utilizes DNA testing to determine your ideal diet, workout plan, and specific needs for essential vitamins, plus many more metabolic factors so you can keep it off. NJ Diet is all natural. No shots, no hormones, and no surgery. Full supervision is provided every step of the way, and you even get the doctor's personal email and phone number. You don't even have to leave your house, since NJ Diet is available in the Chicago area and nationwide with live online video consultations. So call 855-5NJ